Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Bader Show. I'm Mark Bader. This is episode 445, and a great guest for today's show, Trent Hidlay. He won the U.S. Open at 92 kilos. He's qualified for Final X. Trent, thanks for joining us today. How you doing? Yeah, absolutely. And I know Hoagie Boy is kind of your nickname. We just talked about this. Maybe he's fading now. But, I like Smash Mouth. I think you like hardcore. Where should we take your nickname?
I don't know. I always feel like it's hard. You can't really give yourself a nickname. I feel like it's better when other people do it.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe after Final X, if it goes well, somebody will give me a good nickname we can run with.
Okay. I'm sure you'll be out there raising the roof. I see the picture behind you. Signature roof raising, always a lot of fun. I want to get into the Open and Final X and Barr and everything, but I want to go back to the NCAAs. Now, we're doing a watch party, so I didn't get to watch and hear, but you did, was it you and Shane Sparks, right, were side by side, or I'm guessing, doing the all the mats at once. Is that right? Explain me what you were, how it got. Did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? And just what the experience was like. Everybody said you guys just crushed it. Said you did a really good job.
Yeah, me and Shane had a great time. I feel like we did awesome. Everyone had really good stuff to say, but it kind of started out. So I did the first earlier in the year with NC State. They had 2 dual meets, and I did the color commentating for it for Utah Valley and App State. And I guess I did pretty well. They reached out and wanted me to do ACCs as well. So I did the ACC finals. Actually, I did ACCs the whole day, and then the ACC finals was a little bit more serious. And that was pretty tough, but I did pretty well there. And then got asked to do the Matcast with Shane for 3 days at NCAA. So I was like, yeah, count me in. Let's go. I didn't have a ton of experience with commentating, but I got good feedback from the dual meets and ACCs, so I was ready to roll, and it was wild. A long couple of days because we didn't really take any commercial breaks. Right, with the Matcast, we're looking at 8 screens, and we can go between any talk about any wrestler. So it's just I was able to just talk about wrestling for hours and hours at a time, watching the NCAA tournament, which for me was a totally new experience. Yeah. Right, I came off of wrestling the national tournament. Next year I'm commentating it, so there was a lot to learn, but I thought it was awesome.
You said so you did the ACCs, and you said you do the whatever, then you do the finals, and you said that was pretty hard. What was hard about it? Just having never done it, kind of.
I think I was a little anxious for it. Like I really wanted to do well, and because I didn't have a ton of training and media or commentary, I was kind of maybe it was imposter syndrome a little bit. Like, do I belong doing this? Like, do I even know what I'm talking about? And then I was like, after a couple of the matches in the finals, it's like, okay, I know wrestling. Like, I could talk wrestling. Let's just chill out a little bit and just try to provide some insight into maybe what these guys are feeling or some technique. And I felt like once I got in a rhythm, I was pretty good. But honestly, the thing that made ACCs harder than NCAAs was there wasn't a lot of scoring. In the ACCs, like those guys know each other so well, and they wrestle each other all the time that there was no first period takedowns. So I'm waiting to get into action, and I have nothing to say.
That makes it tough, right? Because you want to be talking about what's happening, but there's not always something happening. So another thing I heard, they're like, dude, this guy's you're just dropping nuggets of knowledge or facts about people, or it's just maybe I was reading your brother talk about it or something, like he just loves wrestling so much that it just came out and it seems like you just have a good time with Shane, and that's going to come off, and people are going to feel that vibe.
Yeah, and Shane was awesome. It's impossible to mess up when you're with him because he has such good energy and sets you up so well. But I feel like you said, I follow wrestling so much. I'm such a big fan of it that I knew who some of the guys lost to the first round of the season, and where they went to high school or how they placed at Fargo. I know a lot of stuff because some of these guys are my age, right? I'm not that far removed from competing against them or with them. So I think that was cool, me having a little bit of insider knowledge into who are these guys? Where'd they come from? What's a little bit of their background? And then blend that into the wrestling, which I think a lot of people enjoyed listening to.
Yeah. Do you you're a big fan of it, right? But you also do it. And is it ever tricky? Like when you were in college, were you a fan of the rest of the college wrestling going on, or were you just kind of like head down to doing your thing?
I think it was a mix of both. Like, I think I knew when to really like lock in, right, for myself. Like, okay, I'm getting ready to compete. Like, I got to get ready to just focus solely on myself. But like, I love watching dual meets. I love following the sport, following on social media. So, and it wasn't something where it like distracted me from my training or my competing. It was just something that I loved to follow and didn't take any energy to follow. So it was just always fun knowing what was happening, who was wrestling. Um, but no, I don't think it ever like distracted me. But I was able to have a good balance of both.
Is this something you'd like to continue to pursue? If they ask you again next year, or there's another event or meets, and you're like, hey, dude, he's in here. People like him. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I would love to. As long as people enjoy it, I think it's fun. I don't think I'm the best at doing it, but I think maybe my perspective is a little different than what people are used to. So if that's something that people enjoy every once in a while, yeah, I'd love to continue doing it.
All right, I'll talk to those people and get you on. Okay, now I want you're done with no more folk style, right? Full time freestyle wrestler. What is different, or how different is being a senior level athlete from aside from class, and forget about the class part, but the actual training and practice and recovery and all that? Is it pretty similar, or is how much different is what you're doing right now, other than locking hands?
I think that there's a lot more free time right now that I have. I have to be disciplined at like making sure I don't practice and then come home and just sit on the couch and watch TV and then practice again, because you can kind of get caught up in that a little bit. So kind of being really disciplined to do it professionally, whether that's focusing on recovery or learning more, watching film in my off time. So I think just managing my off time a little bit more, because when I'm in college, everything's set in stone. I know I have practice, I have class, I have studying, I have meetings, I got lift, and now it's a little bit more on me. So I think it's just being professional about it, like making sure I'm organized and making sure I'm getting what I need, and then kind of just enjoying the fact that I get to train and compete full time and be a professional athlete. It's super cool. I loved college. I loved the grind of it. Freestyle, I'd say, is a little bit maybe easier to manage just in terms of training. And as you get older, obviously you need to be a little bit smarter. But I still love to be around the guys on the team. I almost feel like I'm still on the team, because I'm in there practicing with them almost every day.
Yeah.
And I'm, mentoring a lot of the guys, and it keeps me young. I still feel like I'm 20 years old and I'm coming into the NC State room, getting ready to wrestle with the guys. So there's differences. Yeah, I think time management, maybe a little bit, being disciplined with my time is important. But the training's been awesome. I've been really enjoying it.
Do you do regular practice with the team, or you guys have like a separate freestyle RTC practice? And did somebody run it, or are you just kind of getting there and train on your own?
It's kind of changes a little bit. Like during the season, I was probably like half the days during the week I was going with the team practice, and the other half I was doing like just regular RTC separate times. But Jameel Kelly is our RTC coach, so like super grateful to have him being able to not just manage it, but just his expertise and his knowledge has been really, really cool. So we have a full coach with the Wolfpack RTC that he schedules the practices, and some days he'll have me come in with the team. Some days I'll come in on my own. But like I said, it's a good blend of me being around those guys, but then also me having to take responsibility to get what I need. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mix of both.
Now you don't have a choice, right? You can't wrestle folk style anymore. It's real matches, but do you like one more than the other? Is there a preference, or it's like, man, this is just got to do what you got to do at different times?
Yeah, I like freestyle a lot more. I would say with folk style, the big differences that I see is like you have to be in a different kind of shape because it is such of a grind. The college season is long. 7 minutes is a wrestling match. wrestling top and bottom. It's a different type of conditioning that you need. Whereas freestyle, some people will play the game where it's like, I'm going to hang out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We'll alternate shot clocks, and you have to be in shape for it, but you can kind of get away with maybe being a little bit less disciplined with your conditioning. But what I love about freestyle is that I think it fits my style a little bit more with the step out rule. I like taking ground. I like getting guys to the edge and scoring in the over under position, which I think freestyle helps me out a little bit, because in folk style, I think guys that you're better than, it's a little bit easier for them to keep it close. Whereas when you're in freestyle, if there's a skill discrepancy, you can attack it, and you can build up a quick lead and kind of cruise. But folk style, it's like, I feel like I'm dominating this guy and I'm only up by 4 points. It's frustrating.
Yeah. For sure, freestyle has like it can be 8-0 in a close match, right? Like, oh, he took me down and laced me, but otherwise I was right in there. And folk style, if it's 10-0, you got your ass kicked.
Yeah. But I think the edge is just so different, because with folk style, and they call stalling a little bit more now, but you never really knew what you were getting. If you took somebody out of bounds, were you going to get a stall call? Were you going to get rewarded for it? So part of it is just being in the best possible shape and just breaking guys, and that's, I think, kind of a little bit of an art to figure out. I think as I got older, I got a lot better at it, of like, how am I going to get this guy so tired that he just can't fight anymore? And it takes the technique out of it a little bit, but in freestyle, you can't really get away with that. And I think I've learned that, especially this year. Like when we were at the Croatia Ranking Series tournament, I hurt my rib in my first match, and it was just really bothering me. And I had to wrestle Azerbaijan the second round, and I was like, well, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to do all my normal offense, so I'm just going to hand fight super, super hard, gas this guy out, get some takedowns, and win any way I can. And I went out there and did it, and then, like, he just didn't get tired. So I was like, okay, you're not just going to wrestle super hard and beat all these guys by doing that. So there's some skill and technique that you have to have as well. So I think that was a good learning opportunity for me.
Like, did that match specifically make you think of skills you need to develop?
I think it was just like, it just opened up my eyes, because like growing up, you always hear like, gas out, you're going to gas out the foreigners. They're going to get tired. They can't keep up with the American pace, but like they can, and they can more now than they used to be. So you can't just win on being tough and wrestling hard all the time. Like there has to be ways that you can score points against guys that are also really tough and can go for a whole 6 minutes.
Would you say that you learned it in that match after you hurt your ribs and all that?
Yeah, that was probably the first time that was like, okay, I tried to gas this guy out. He didn't get tired, and I lost. Like, okay, there's something else I need to improve on, because I'm not just going to be able to win a world title like that.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I would say, you're like a very passionate guy. You wrestle with a lot of heart and maybe a lot of emotion, right? And sometimes people are like, don't wrestle with emotion, or don't, like, but do you feel like you wrestle with emotion, and do you feel like it helps?
I feel like I've controlled my emotion before matches a lot more in the past couple of years. So it's almost like when I get out there and when I'm competing really well, I really don't feel a lot of emotion. I think it's because what I show is just kind of a byproduct of my style and wrestling hard and enjoying it. But I don't, I try to take as much emotion out of it as I can, because what I learned, like, the more emotional that I am before a match, the more excited I get. It starts to wear on me a little bit. My energy wears out. So if I can, do the right things before my matches and stay calm, stick to my routine, when I get onto the mat, I know I'm going to hard. Like, I know I'm going to give everything I have. So kind of controlling my emotions beforehand allows me to go all out when I compete. And I think that's, where my passion comes from. I train super, super hard. When I get out to the mat, I want to compete as hard as I possibly can. And when I do that, that's where that energy and that passion comes from.
Yeah. I saw a video on your Instagram, I think it was earlier today too. You were talking to a group of kids, like I don't know if you're doing a camp or teaching or something, but you were like, it's cool to wrestle hard. It's cool to train hard. Don't let yourself, fall into this trap, or don't, give yourself the out, because it's also hard to wrestle hard and train hard. And maybe just describe that a little bit. And some people call you try hard or this or that.
Yeah. Well, I think especially when you're in middle school, early ages of high school, it's kind of like it turns into like, oh, he's going so hard, he cares so much, that's not cool. Where it's like, that's actually the coolest thing you can do,
Yeah.
right? Is to care so much that you're giving your absolute best in a drill or in a live wrestling show or in conditioning. And I think that's something I learned when I got to college. It's like, listen, I'm really starting to enjoy pushing myself to the limits. That's a cool thing to do, right? And some people will be like, well, you're drilling too hard, you're not letting me score. It's like, this is what I need to do to prepare against the best guys in the country and the world. So if comes with you not thinking I'm a great drill partner, then fine, right? But I know that when I step in the room, my drill, my technique, my live has to be so focused and so intense that, I'm not worried about what other people think about that, because in my mind, I'm giving everything that I can. I think that's one of the coolest things that you can do. Like we talked about being passionate about it. Like I'm super passionate about working hard and giving my all. And I think like when you're younger, especially, I don't know, like 13, 14, it's kind of like the cool thing to like slack off or be lazy, where it's
Sure.
like, that's not cool, man. Let's like, I want to see the guys that are in there going all out, because those are the guys that start to figure it out a little bit quicker. And I
Yeah.
was that person, right? Like when I was young, I was like, I think like, especially growing up with Hayden being 2 years older, and like he'd go into practice and be locked in. I'd be like, dude, he's like, why is he doing this? Like he's going too hard. He's too focused. He cares too much about this. It's like, wait a second. He might be onto something there.
Yeah, that's why. Well, I picture you wrestling really hard, training, with a lot of intensity and like all the things you just described. Like, tell me about like you have to train sometimes with not ton of intensity, right? Whether it's sparring or like explain to me the opposite side of that for you and for your training.
Yeah, and that's something I've had to figure out, especially these past couple of years, because I've almost gotten like addicted to going so hard that it's like, okay, you've got to take some time to slow things down and figure things out technically. And I think that's where, Jamil and Zach Esposito have helped me out a lot, because it's like, listen, you can go as hard as you want, but at some point you have to be disciplined, realize you have to slow down in order to get better. And it's like, I can I can always go hard, right? I can always go in there and train hard, but I also have to be disciplined enough to bring myself down sometimes and get in there and maybe pick a position and just get some reps in. And I think that will help as well with longevity of my career, right? Like Zach Esposito said something that was really funny to me when he first got there. He's like, listen, if you keep training like this, your career is going to be over in 2 years. I was like, okay. But, and there's some truth to it. Like, you've got to be disciplined with not always going all out. There has to be some time where you slow it down and just figure things out, whether it's positionally or technically or maybe just recovery, right? So, and I think my adjustment for that is when I come into a session, whether it's a lifting session, mat session, if I know it's going to be high intensity, like I'm good to go, right? But I know that if I need to go in and have a lighter session, I have to schedule it at a different time, because if I get in there with other guys going hard and I'm trying to go light, I'll blend in with them and I'll just start going. So I have to kind of take myself out of the situation, maybe go into the mat room with somebody later where I can control the environment a little bit. So that's been an adjustment. I think it's something I've done a better job with, especially this past year.
You'll physically remove yourself and just have to go to a different time because you see the intensity over there and you just crank it up.
Well, especially at the NC State room, it's a smaller room, so
Yeah.
if the guys are drilling hard and they're wrestling live, and I'm just supposed to be doing some technique, like forget about it. I'll just go join them. It's like, I can't do this. I can't watch these guys train like this and hold myself out of it. So it's like, Trent, just come back later, grab a partner, let them get theirs in, and then you can get what you need to do.
All right. Let's talk weight, right? You're up at 92. You've been wrestling 86. Why'd you decide to move up? And you're clearly not cutting as much weight, or if any. Tell me how that plays a role in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. I think 86 is a deep weight cut for me, but it's not that hard. 92, I'm definitely not oversized for it, but I weigh like right around there. I've been working pretty hard these last couple months to put on some weight. So that's been going really well. But I would say the difference with 92 and 86 is the length, whether it's guys' arms or legs, like some guys are just naturally taller. So dealing with that has been a little bit of an adjustment. But I was able to get some good matches at the U.S. Open and then even at Pan Ams as well. So kind of getting adjusted to bigger, taller guys is one of the bigger challenges with 92 as opposed to 86. But I think like making the decision, I was talking with Coach Jamil and Coach Esposito and Coach Pat Aparicio, and they're like, go 92 right now. Don't worry about cutting weight, and you can get really good training in. And this was back in February, I think. So like, take February, take March, take April, train really hard, feel good. Don't put your body under the stress of having to cut weight, and then kind of just monitor how your progress is. And I think it's been good because I've been able to grow a lot these last couple months and get better at wrestling instead of, focusing on that cut down to 86. And the weight class is a little bit thinner, I think, at 92. So it was just a good opportunity for me to train hard and get ready to compete and make world team.
Yeah. Maybe it's too early, maybe not. Do you think you'll stay at 92? Obviously not. I assume in 2028 you'll go somewhere else. But until then?
Yeah, probably planning to be at 92 for the time being, unless something crazy happens. And then 86 for 2028 is probably my longer term plan. But I think 92 is just a good weight because I don't have to cut weight for it, and I can just focus on training and lifting hard and feeling my best.
Do you like maybe miss a meal or like just no cut weight at all?
Well, it's like I'm around like 206, 207, but I lose so much weight overnight and in my practices that it's like they just show up the night before, do a little workout, and I'm down the weight. So it's super manageable.
Have you had a situation like that in the past where you weren't really cutting any weight, or is this kind of the first time?
Well, I look back at my 6th year of college. I went up from 184 to 197. And the thought process behind that was like, listen, I've been killing myself to make 184, and my body's been breaking down by the time I get to the national tournament. I haven't competed really the way that I wanted to. Go 197, get as big and strong as I can that summer, and see how I do. And I did get pretty big. I got up to 206, 207, and when I started getting down to weight, it was like I got really nervous for the first time I wrestled 197. I think it was, I forget who we wrestled. It was like just a lower dual meet, low stress. But I was like super anxious. I was super nervous for it because I was like, I don't know if I can wrestle 197. These guys are bigger, they're stronger. It'll be, weird. And I went out there and got a tech fall like super easy. So I was like, okay, I think I could do this, and I wasn't cutting that much weight, right? I was, my classes were online. I was just focused on training super hard and being in best shape and taking care of my body. And that was probably the best year I had competitively in college. And, granted, that was a 6th year, so I was older and I had a lot of experience to take from, but that was without a doubt my best wrestling that I did. So I think looking back on it, I was like, okay, I've done this before. I've wrestled up a weight class and I've done really well. This is no different.
I think, and that's you're starting, Yanni just went up, and you're starting to see this more and more where people are like, I'll just go up. And in the past, it was like this weird thing. It was like, I got to be as small as possible. But really, like you said, you train, you can feel better. You're not worried about every workout, like how much weight am I going to lose or how much, am I going to burn? So Hats off to you for going up and continue to set that trend.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it just takes a lot of stress off you, right? Like cutting weight is really hard. Adding weight is also really hard. It's frustrating at the point where you have to be really disciplined at making sure you're doing everything you need to nutritionally and strength training wise. But it's a different type of stress, and I think the biggest thing for me has just been injury. With how hard I train, if I add that in with cutting weight, it's almost like I'm a ticking time bomb for something to happen. Whereas now, I'm doing everything I need to nutritionally, recovery wise, so that I can train at a really high level. And I think that's probably been the biggest benefit for me.
Excellent. When getting into the U.S. Open, and really, we got this finals match. He wrestled Hayden Sinclair, who I think was wrestling like 3 other tournaments that weekend. Yeah, if we could pull this over, Amanda, and we'll just kind of watch this. And I'd love to hear your opinions or give them a little analysis, whatever you want. You'd pretend like it's me and you or Shane. We're
Okay.
Trent and Shane at Nationals. But no, just kind of interested, to hear people watch themselves. And
Yeah, well, I think going into the match, it was unique that Aiden was wrestling U20s at the same time. And I remember like that morning, I was like wrestling 86 for U20s because I knew he was signed up, and he was. So I was like, okay. I was looking at it the other way. I was like, okay, he's going to be really warmed up for this match. I need to come out hot. So, right away you see that collar time. That's exactly what I'm looking for. He got that reach. I found my underhook, and then he kind of hits like a switch. I didn't even really do anything to turn him. He kind of like switched and gave me an easy turn. So, you go up 4-0 in the first 5 seconds, and you're like, okay, this is a perfect start. This is exactly what I wanted. And I think at that point is like, I'm going to go get a tech ball right away. So I get back to my position. I have my shoulder position. I get a step out. And now you're up 5-0 in the first 25 seconds, and you can kind of just control things a little bit. And looking back on it, I wish I probably would have went out and tried to score again right away and build my lead. But I just felt really, comfortable in the fact that I knew that the pressure was on him to start attacking. And where I went to in this match was control the center, make him take a bad shot, and look for a reattack and start to build my lead instead of, me having to overextend myself, go get a score, and then put myself in a bad position. When you're up 5-0, it gives you a lot of opportunity to win in different ways. And I think it gave him the opportunity to just hold center, force him to make a mistake, and then build my lead that way.
Yeah. Do you feel like these are kind of thoughts that come into your head? It's just like one big thought that you don't even really have to think about. You just know it. I got to get to the center. I got to hold position.
Yeah, it's almost
slow down.
It's kind of hard. Like it's actually a little bit harder when match starts out like this because like you don't anticipate it to happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna have to wear this guy down for the first couple of minutes to go get my first score, and then all of a sudden you score right away. So it's like, all right, I wasn't prepared for this. I need to kind of refocus. And I think that's looking back on it, I wish I would have just stayed in that offensive mindset to go get another score. But it's hard. Like you go up 5-0 in the first 25 seconds, and it just changes your I guess mindset of the match strategy wise, and that's part of competing at elite level is not letting that change the way that you wrestle, and just staying offensive mindset. So that was probably the big thing in the match is be ready to score right away and be ready to build your entire first period.
What we got? 5-0 right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sinclair, he's pretty tricky. I think in a way he's got a great arm drag. So you got to be kind of constantly moving hands and getting a good position. And I really felt comfortable in over under here. I knew he had some good stuff from underhooks well, but right when you're up 5-0, if I can get to an over position, it makes it hard for them to generate offense. So just kind of wanted to try to take away those easy drag opportunities and close the gap from space.
There's that freaking underhook. Where does underhooks come from? You guys were deadly with those underhooks. Your club coach when you were little? Your
What's
dad?
really funny?
Where did this come from?
I was talking to Jamil the other day, and I was like, the technique that I hit from the underhook, like nobody ever taught me. I never like learned how to hit that move. When I was when Hayden and I were really young, we had a coach that was local He had a really good headlock and upper body system that he kind of taught us. I think I always felt comfortable over under, and then I was a freshman and sophomore. Hayden was a junior and senior, so he was just torching me in the room like constantly with underhooks. And I was like, dude, I got to figure this out. So I think just by a product of kind of getting my ass beaten by him so much and over under, I got comfortable with underhooks and kind of just figured out how to make it my own. And then once I started to score a little bit with it, it's like, okay, I can make this my style. If I can get to my underhook, I can score. And then when I got to college, everybody started to stop it. So I was like, okay, I need to continue to evolve. It's not just going to be a pounce underhook to a double every time. I need to be able to increase my offensive ability from this position. And I think each year I just kind of have grown a little bit with it and added wrinkles to it. That's helped me be able to score in different ways.
Love it. Yeah, getting your ass kicked in the room long enough will help you. It'll help you learn about something.
That's pretty much probably the best way you can learn is just get beat up.
Yeah, and when you have an older brother, there's plenty of that to go around. You guys still?
Yeah, because there's no mercy.
Well, he's retired, right? Do you wrestle anymore?
Every once in a while, like when he gets to come home for holidays, we'll roll around a little bit. He's a little smaller now, but yeah, we'll always wrestle if we have the opportunity.
You ever try to like give some of those whoopings back now that you're a little bit bigger? He's a little retired. I'm sure he can still throw down, but you're like, hey man, it's payback.
Not so much now, but like maybe like my junior and senior year when he was there, and I'd get the opportunity to wrestle him. There was like a part of me that was like, okay, I got a lot of weight on him, but also this kind of feels weirdly good.
Yeah, we all like to give those beatings back to our brothers.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, a minute and a half in, I'm up by 5. I know that he's going to have to start taking some more risks. So you'll see, there's a good push out. And that was anticipating that shot, get the angle, find my hook, and then get to my score. And I'd say reflecting now with 115, just control the center. I start to give up a little bit of ground because, you're up and he's going to be forward, but I think taking away from this match is move forward, get to my ties, don't try to absorb contact. And I think I give up a score here. He tries to take me to the other mat. I didn't like that too much when he did that.
Have you watched this? Do you typically watch your matches?
Yeah, I'll watch them a couple of times, especially like right after, and then I'll watch a couple, maybe a week or so later. So this is good. So the ref blows the whistle, gets another whistle, and then I'd get on top because I was pissed off. And I was like, okay, that was unnecessary. And then that was actually good for me because it lit a little bit of a spark. And I was like, I'm not getting scored on again. Like, I'm picking up my intensity. And like right at the end, I get an opportunity to get a push out. And I wanted to take him off the stage. And I didn't, which I'm glad I didn't. But yeah, I was kind of operating a little bit on anger there.
Back to the passion or emotion that crept into this match.
Yeah, I was like, dude, the whistle blew. I stopped, and then you get on a free double and just take me across the mat. I was like, I should have just wrestled through the whistle.
Yeah, that's what the coaches always say: is make him peel you off.
Yeah, so like right here, I was like, oh, get him off the stage, but
Kozak stood up. That would have been. They were like,
yeah, it would have been unnecessary on my end to do that. Because at the end of the day, like he's competing hard, like,
yeah.
And it's, I respect that actually a lot.
Well, how do you? I mean, obviously you won, but right? What do you think of this match? And great, all right, decent.
Yeah, I thought there were some good things. Obviously, like I said, you score right away. It kind of gives you you're in the driver's seat, right, to kind of wrestle the way that you want. But I will say, I think like the day before, the semis were the day before. I didn't wrestle very well. It just did not have good energy, and I didn't love the way that I wrestled the whole first day. So I think coming into that finals match is like, okay, I want to compete well. Like I want to compete the way that I wanted to, and I'd say I competed pretty well. And it's like I don't want to sound, ungrateful because winning the U.S. Open is awesome, but there's better wrestling for me to do. So I was a little not disappointed, but I was like a little frustrated in maybe the way that I competed, which is a good thing. And to still win and be frustrated with performance, I think is a good problem to have. Because I was able to wrestle at the Pan Ams the next weekend or 2 weekends ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it helped me kind of really lock in on what do I need to do a little bit differently to perform my best. And even if it was lower level competition, my process leading up to it was really good, and I competed really well, and my energy was great. So that gave me a little sample of what I want Final X to look.
When did you first see yourself winning the U.S. Open, right? Like maybe you showed up at this weekend, you're like, I think I'm going to win this tournament, right? But like when you were in high school or college or even younger, did you think like, man, one day I'm going to be at that level to win the U.S. Open?
I think in high school, it probably seemed a little unattainable because I just didn't think I would really be that good. But I think when I got to college, when my freshman year, my true freshman year, I redshirted, and then I won the Open to put myself in the best 2 out of 3 finals for the junior team, and I think that was a little bit of a spark. Like, okay, I'm on pace to be able to do these types of things in a couple of years. I'm not there yet. Like, I wasn't ready to beat senior level guys as a senior in high school or a freshman in college, just because there was a maturity gap and a strength gap. But I was like, I know that I'm on the right track, and I think that helped prove it to me. And it was just a matter of time, just keep paying my dues, keep getting better, keep exposing myself against really good opponents in practice and competition, so that I can continue that path towards get to the senior level, win the U.S. Open, make the world team. So I think making that junior world team was really impactful for me, because I think it just helped me. It proved to me that I was doing the right things, because that whole freshman year was really hard. I really kind of got fed to the wolves, figuratively and literally at NC State. But
Yeah.
it was a hard year. But I think making that junior team was like some good validation for me.
Yeah. Like trajectory on that right trajectory. Okay, so now, just a couple weeks ago, we had the World Team Trials. You're going to find out who your opponent is. I don't know. Explain to me your experience. I don't think you were there. Maybe you were, but I assume you were at home or watching on a computer or something. But how do you? And is it partly fan, or is it like, no, this is business?
Um, I guess a mixture of both. I think, I don't know, the World Team Trials were, some of those weights were really, really fun to watch, like 65 and 70. 92 was a little bit smaller, so there wasn't that many matches, so I didn't have to watch a ton of it, right? But I think obviously the finals you want to watch, and the guy that wins it, you want to pay attention to what they're doing. And it was kind of mayhem, right? The mats were slippery in the semis and
Yeah.
just kind of craziness. But yeah, I thought there was a lot of great wrestling to watch. And the benefit of winning the U.S. Open is that I didn't have to be there, right? I could stay home and train throughout the week and rest during the weekend and create that game plan for Final X. So it was definitely nice not having to wrestle in it. And then on the business side of it, watch it to look for things that you need to be ready for at Final X. And on the fan side of things, enjoy a great weekend.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you learn anything new from Josh Barr, or what's your take on him? You don't have to obviously give us your game plan, but just notes on him as a wrestler.
Well, I think Barr is he's a very tough wrestler. I think he showed that a lot just throughout the collegiate season this year. He's a gamer. He's tough. He wrestles really hard. He's got great reattacks. He's got great defense, but he's got a great offensive system where he can get to the legs frequently and finish. So he's somebody that you got to be ready to wrestle, right? It's not someone you're going to luck into a win. You're not just going to stumble into points. You're going to have to go out and take it. So, no, I think his match with Sinclair was pretty close. He showed a little bit of that, being able to kind of pour it on in the second period and build his lead. Same thing in the semifinals match against Plot. So, it was just good to be able to watch him wrestle those guys and just get a feel of what his style, freestyle-wise, is.
Will there be any or much emphasis on Josh between now and then, right? Building a game plan or understanding whatever? Or is it more just like, man, I just got to keep working on the things I'm working on?
Well, I think a little bit. I don't think you have to break it down like so much to try to predict what he's going to be doing, because at the highest level, everybody can wrestle in different positions. So you don't want to like over game plan one thing and not see it out there and be like, well, we just spent 3 weeks focusing on high C and he shot a single right away,
Yeah.
But I think like being aware of what his systems are, what his positions are, but then more so for me, like find that process that I was in at Pan Am. I wrestled at the U.S. Open. I didn't like the way I competed at Pan Ams. I loved the way I competed. Stay consistent with that system and focus on what I need to do to wrestle at my best. And then when I do that, I feel like I compete really well. So that's kind of where the focus is.
What do you think it was about Pan Ams that you liked the way you wrestled better? And did it have, can you pinpoint why it was those two different ways?
I think the biggest thing I took away from the U.S. Open to Pan Ams was just controlling my emotions, controlling energy. Like at the U.S. Open, you're in that gym. There's high school kids running around. There's 30 mats going on. I have teammates wrestling, so I'm like watching them. I'm in their corner, and it's like, oh, I'm up in 10 minutes. I get warmed up. So it's just like a little bit of immaturity on my end, like maybe not taking it seriously enough to like, hey, chill out in the back, do your process, do what you have to do pre-match wise. I think it just kind of drained me a little bit, just being in the gym all day and running back and forth. But at Pan Am's is like, I'm here to compete. I'm not here to watch the match. I'm here to watch my teammates wrestle. I'm here to weigh in, do what I need to do after weigh-ins, get a good warm-up in, and get in that zone that I compete really well in. And I just competed a lot better.
Well, it's so funny too. Now that you described the two tournaments, I didn't go to Pan Am's this year, but I've been in the past. There's like 2 mats, I think, and there's not a whole lot going on. The U.S. Open, it's like a zoo. There's 9 different tournaments, and there's like it's a festival. There's so much going on, so I didn't even think about that. But the environment, just simply the environments of these tournaments are so vastly different, and probably Pan Am's has that more feel of like, all right, I'm going to wrestle on one of these 2 mats. This is why I'm here. It makes sense.
Yeah. And the thing with Pan Ams that's fun too, you're wrestling people that you have no idea about.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't know anything about these guys. History will tell you that US dominates at the Pan Ams.
Right.
But it's like I'm going into these matches and I don't know how good this guy is. Like he could be completely under the radar. And I'm like warming up as if I'm wrestling the world championship. Like this guy could come out here and for me right away. I got to be ready to go, So I think it was just that heightened level of focus of like this match could go either way. I don't know what Canada has, I got to go out there and I got to go out there for 4 points. And I think when I wrestle like that, almost like with my back up against the wall, I compete really well.
Who was the toughest match at Pan Am's? Anybody?
What's funny? I almost got pinned. We were wrestling Puerto Rico, and I like hit like a head over under, and I hit like a kind of like a whip over, and he kind of like slow rolled me a little bit, like fell to his back, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna deck him, and then he like rolled through and popped through, and I only gave up 1 for the reversal, but it was hairy for a little bit.
Like, oh, please don't let this happen. I thought I was gonna mop this guy.
I look over, and Jamil's like, I'm like, all right, we're fine.
Just the things you don't think are gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. So the June 14th obviously is Final X. You're taking on Josh Barr, 2 out of 3 for the right to be on the world team. Then the one other thing I noticed looking at your Instagram today was Real American Freestyle, right? And I think people have heard about this, right? You got Hulk Hogan, and they got money behind this thing, and it says you're a signed athlete. Like, I don't know. Do you have any info, like, or what do you know beyond maybe what's been said?
I don't have like a super ton of info, but from my understanding, it's going to be a very legitimate operation. It's going to be full freestyle. You've seen some of the people that they're signing, so some of the top level American wrestlers are going to be in it, and I think it's also going to have some international flair as well, from where they're going to bring some guys in for matches. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity for me to compete against really high level freestyle wrestlers. and I don't know exactly when the dates are, but I'm just going to be ready for the call. And I think, like when the opportunity presented itself, it was such an easy yes for me because I love competing. Like I love wrestling competitively more than anything. So it's like anytime I can get a chance to compete, I'm in. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited for it. Sounds like it's going to be really high level wrestling. I think maybe expect more of like a UFC style layout, kind of where it's like a build up and a card, kind of what you've seen a little bit in the past recently. I'm not exactly sure, so don't quote me on that, but that's the kind of excitement level I think it'll be like.
Yeah. Uh, and like, I'm curious, like, I'm not asking you to tell me how much they're going to pay you or anything, but like the details of the contract as far as like, is it, man, I signed for 3 fights or matches, or is it just like, I'm signed up to do the league?
Yeah, I think it's on a match basis. So, when I signed, it looks like it's 5 guaranteed bouts over a time period. I just don't know when those events are going to be.
Right.
But that's what I liked about it. Was like I'm gonna get a guaranteed couple of matches here. It's not just gonna be a one-off event. I'm gonna get a couple of different opportunities.
Yeah. I know their first, if you make the world team, the first one's August 30th, right? Just like a couple weeks before. So, but I think they're planning on having them monthly or quite a few. So hopefully that thing takes off, and and wrestling's been wanting this for a long time. So hopefully people
Yeah,
can wrestle and make money and have a good time and have a great product. So
absolutely.
all right, last question. Well, maybe it's easy. It's very simple. Trent Hidlay, who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Oh man, I can only pick one.
It's not that easy. It's a simple question, but it's not that easy.
Um, I think my brother Hayden's probably my favorite wrestler. But not probably. He definitely is. He's
Yeah.
always been my favorite wrestler. I'd say, is responsible for a lot of the growth that I've made in my career because, like, seventh, eighth grade, I really wanted to quit. Like, I hated wrestling so much.
Really?
And I think he was probably the first person that noticed that I had a lot of, I guess, like, there was a lot of potential for me. And like when I finally got a little bit mature enough to realize what he was saying, I think it just meant a lot to me because he's also my brother too. Like
Yeah.
that's like a hero to me. Uh, and just the way and being around with him in high school and college and watching the way that he trained and how much he wanted to win, he just I'll never I there was never a match that I didn't think he was going to win. It's just because I had so much confidence in him, and wrestling's just a super hard sport. He's definitely my favorite for sure.
Okay. That made me think. I got to think this has happened before. Can you recall? I'm sure a bunch of times, but look, is there a time that stands out when you two you went at it? You started wrestling, and then now you're throwing punches or you're fighting.
Oh yeah. So my so when he really got me, my summer of my or eighth grade, like midway through the year, I committed to it. As like I went from hating the sport, want to be out of it, to him convincing me that I was going to be the best wrestler ever, and I was all in. We trained super hard together. I was fully bought in. So then my freshman and sophomore year of high school, we were like our main training partners together in the high school room. And I mean, every practice, it was, warm up, technique, drill, live. And by the end of live, I was just so sick of getting beat up. It was like, I'm just going to start fighting. I got to start throwing punches or something because I can't just keep getting taken down over and over again. I remember one time specifically in the room. This is so funny. Our coach had us doing this drill where so it was one partner was up against the wall, right? I was just standing up against the wall, and the other partner was kind of in like double with like your shoulder and their stomach, and you had to keep them there as long as you could. So I was up first, and I was on the wall. I was like, I just kind of sprawl, get off of it, dude. I could not. Hayden kept me there for like 6 minutes straight, and like 6 minutes straight of me fighting tooth and nail to get off, and then I just started like just trying to just wail on to get out of it. Um, and the thing that was so frustrating about him too is he would like never punch me back. He would just like beat me up. I would try to punch him. he would like tackle me, take me down, and then I'd still try to like punch him, and I would never get that like reaction where he would like just punch me in the face. He was just like, no, I'm just gonna keep kicking your ass, and you can try to fight as much as you want.
Oh, it's fantastic, man. I like that drill. I kind of want to implement that. Like, it's like that's kind of weird, but it's kind of like I kind of love it. Like, just keep a guy there pinned up against the wall.
I imagine they do that. I imagine they do that in like UFC practices a lot, like keeping the guy pinned up against a cage.
It actually has more real application.
Just like my frustration completely boiled over, and I was like, the only option I have right now is to try to punch him to get off, because what I'm doing is not working. So I just got to try to throw hands.
Oh man, I wish there was a camera back in that room back in the day, but
yeah, I know. But when we got to college, like we would wrestle. I was a little bit bigger, but I think I was able to control my emotions a little more, and it was a little bit more competitive. So it didn't really go to fist fights. I mean, it got scrappy, but it didn't. It never got to the point where we were punching each other in the face, which is good because it probably would have got bad.
I've only seen you punch one person in the face.
Who's that? Myself?
Yes. I think it's gonna knock himself out.
I got to work on that. I had a really bad moment at NCAA's my fifth year. I lost for third and fourth, and I just completely unloaded on myself. And I caused a lot of damage to my neck and my nerves. So I try not to do that much anymore, but yeah, sometimes I have my freakouts here and there.
I was right there. I was standing Matt's side, and I watched you wrestle Caleb Romero from Ohio State. And I think it was overtime, or maybe he got a takedown at the buzzer or something. It was overtime. It was really bad. I wish you would have stepped in and stopped me. I wasn't getting anywhere near you. I was like, I think Hayden ran over immediately and grabbed you.
Yeah, Hayden tried to grab me, and I tried to hit one of my coaches with a chair. I was just completely freaking out. It took me a while to come under control myself a little bit.
Well, nobody can ever accuse you of not caring.
Yeah, probably a little bit too much.
No, it's all right. Your passion runs deep, and we appreciate it. So that's all I got, man. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us today. We're really excited to see you out in Final X on June 14th. We'll give you the final word, Trent. Anything you want to say?
Final X, June 14th. I got a mat session I'm getting ready for this afternoon, and just day by day training until I get to go out there and make this world team.
All right, sounds good. Hardcore Trent Hidlay. We'll see you next time, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye-bye. We'll see you, everybody. Later.